Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and today we are now in the new year. This is 2024, and unlike 99% of other reviewing channels for the EDC hobby, I'm doing my favorite or best of 2023 now in the beginning of the new year. I love watching everybody else's content, but I thought it was kind of weird that while new stuff is still coming out up until the very last week of the year, it doesn't exactly make it on a lot of people's lists. Like, there were a lot of cool stuff that came out that just didn't make it onto a lot of people's lists because they didn't have enough time to actually spend with it, whether they're going over the actual review and design details and the fit and finish of whatever it was that they were trying to share. But I actually have 6 knives I want to show you out of my collection. Now, I don't get a butt ton of freebies and review samples. These are units that I purchased with my own money, of things that actually stood out to me and have actually stayed in the collection because of how much value I think that they have and that they bring to the community. So they're not in really any particular order or classification. I do have Chinese stuff, budget stuff, and then higher end USA stuff. So it's just stuff that I want to share with you guys. I'm gonna bring out a couple of things. Of course, this is on here, the Vision FG by Civivi, what is this guy, the Glide Strike by Sencut, a subsidiary of Civivi and We Knife Co. This little guy here, it's a free tiger knife. I'll go through more details in a sec about that. And then this right here, this is a titanium Kubey Titus. Everything you see here can be had for $100 and under. The most expensive one being this Kubey Titus, Titius, the titanium titty, whatever you'd like to call it. So we're gonna go ahead and just start with this guy. Let's get these out of the way. The reason why this is on the list is because this is the kind of stuff I hope to see more of within this year. You have full titanium construction, basically the same specs as what We Knife Co does, where they do all T8 hardware, including the pivot, and they do have T6 for the pocket clip screws, but you don't interact with them much. If it was all T8, like Kubey has done before with other things, or with how who's the other person making stuff that's like all T8? Migron, they're a brand that does a lot of stuff that's actually all T8 as well with a lot of their models. I love that, and that it's a little thing that makes a lot of people happy, and that just goes to show that this is a company that's actually community oriented and actually cares for the people who are buying their knives, that want to take them apart, properly maintain them, things like that. So bigger, better hardware, it's just better. So full titanium construction. This does have micro milling. There is no backspacer, but you do have a bent or folded titanium clip and multiple means of deployment. You do get a very simple bead blast kind of stonewashy look on the blade, and it is a 14C28N blade, so it's on the budgety end for blade steel, but in my book it's about as good as you can get for budget steel. So something very comparable to Nitro V as well, or some people may even compare it to 154 CM or CPM 154. So those other two I haven't had the most amount of experience with. I've had different knives in the past with that blade material, and this honestly feels in that ballpark. So I am more than happy to pay whatever it was I got this for. I think it was right around $100. These actually even went on a super sale a couple months back, I think in either October or November, where they were for like 78 or like $75 or something absolutely insane like that. You have a hardened steel insert that has a over travel pin right there, a little tab there, ceramic bearings, ceramic detent ball. It's just all the good stuff that you would want and that you typically get in multi-$100 knives. You're getting it here for comfortably around $100. And yeah, this guy is just freaking awesome. I love this. Now, let's talk about the next one. This is the Vision FG by Civivi. This is the nicer variation, sorry, that has the actual Damascus cladding on the sides. As you can see, it's just kind of like sandwiched, and the core, I believe, is something comparable to a 9CR 18 MOV or something of the sort. So it's not really performance oriented, but it's going to hold an edge well enough, and it's a wonderful blade shape to do some very easy touch up on any sort of sharpening system that you may have, whether it's free-handed or a guided system. So this thing is just freaking awesome. The Vision FG, I'm calling it the Vision freaking great because it really is just that great. Now, I have had a little bit of lock stick even after disassembling, cleaning multiple times. It's just something that you kind of get used to. It happens 1 out of 10 times where the actual super lock itself will stick, but it's really not that bad. Do I wish it was a little bit more consistent? Yeah, of course I would. But this is just under or at $100, and it is absolutely wonderful. Now, there are, I suppose, lesser variations, but that have an upgrade, in my opinion, on the blade material, and that's Nitro V. Again, very comparable to 14C28N. So it's good to go, wonderful mid-grade, budget kind of blade material. It's good stuff. So, of course, coming from Civivi, the tolerances, the fit and finish, they are still, even now, you know, I guess just this past year, still quite a bit of a bargain for what you're actually getting. So a lot of T8 hardware. There are a butt ton of steel components to this, so it is a little bit on the weightier side, but I'm hoping that they do a refresh on the Wii version, on the Wii Knife Co version of this, making it something similar to this, maybe making an XL. I think that a lot of people would absolutely love that, and honestly, if there was an XL that was super premium, you guys would probably see that on this channel, because I've been liking larger knives. Like here and there, I'm still a little picky about it. I'm liking larger knives, but if they made an XL premium version of this, I would probably pick it up. I think that would be really cool. So the Vision FG, wonderful, wonderful addition to any collection. Now this right here, this did come in closer to the end of the year, and I picked it up the second that it became available. I believe I got it on Blade HQ. It's like 45 bucks or sub $50, and it's just a ginormous knife. What I would consider a large knife, and just the design of it is just so simple, and everything about it just works. You have a ultra utilitarian oriented blade, a super low tip, so even though it does look like a clip point, it is actually flat, so there is no actual curve like a traditional clip point would have. I know there's a specific name for this, but I'm just gonna call it a drop point because that's really the easiest thing to call this. But this thing looks incredible opened. When it's closed, it looks a little funky. There were a couple little nitpicks I had about it, but really as is, and being made from, you know, from Sencut, it's excellent. I really didn't have anything to like genuinely be upset about. The execution of this with this super skeletonized steel liners for a lot of very much needed weight relief. The JG10 scales, this did come, I think there was one variation black micarta and 2 other variations in G10 and OD green and a black G10, so those are the other options. They had coated. This is uncoated. This one is in 9CR 18 MOV, so it's nothing super fancy, but it's gonna get the job done. I did actually lay back the edge on this, and now it is probably one of the sliciest blades in my collection. I'm talking like this thing can actually hold its own against my Spyderco PM2. If you have a Spyderco PM2, you know those are meant, they are performance oriented 110%. This, a sub $50 Chinese made knife, it can definitely hold its own against that. So very simple handle profile. You do have a very roomy forward finger choil, and it's just the ergonomics, the shape. I have nothing really to complain about. You can actually flip the clip over, which is cool. And if you want a premium clip, you can go ahead and get one for like, I think they're like 15 to 17 bucks. You can get them on Amazon. I've seen them there. So there's that. This thing is definitely one that surprised me towards the end of the year, and I'm glad that I picked it up because there is a lot to love and appreciate about this. As simple as it is, there's no frills or thrills here. It's just the overall profile of this thing that I absolutely love and love using. Now for the last one, in the budgety territory for Chinese made or overseas made production stuff, this is a Free Tiger knife. It's in D2. The model is FT2103. I loved this knife so much. I actually decided to gift one of these to my 3 brother-in-laws, and they're not knife guys. They don't exactly have a working environment where it's really necessary, but of course it is very useful to have either way. So what you're getting here is something that is around the same size of a bug out and does share a lot of similarities with a bug out. But I find so much more value in something at this price point than an actual USA made Benchmade bug out, which is absolutely insane. If you're a bug out fan, fight me. I don't care. I've owned a bug out. I loved it. I actually still have it. It's up on NAF sale. I upgraded the crap out of it. It's a full titanium build, did anodization work to it, did a different finish to the blade. It's a wonderful knife. But when I finally got this in hand, I was like, holy crap, this thing's sick. For like $35, you get something that has incredible retention. Yes, it does still have Omega springs, but they're 3 times as strong, and the knife is just as comfortable. Maybe not as ultra featherweight light, but it is about as thin and performance oriented and sharing a lot of the same ideas as a Benchmade bug out. It is still a very thin blade, having a very thin geometry right behind the edge. And with D2 blade material, they do offer coated ones like you see here and uncoated ones in like G10 instead of the carbon fiber. And oh yeah, the carbon fiber is actually real carbon fiber. It's just a very simple standard twill pattern. It's nothing fancy. It's not shred. It's not fat carbon fiber. It's not marbled. It's just the basic stuff, but it's still real carbon fiber, not that laminated crap. So you could see the layers up there and how they rounded it off. Could there have been a little bit more finishing work done to this? Yeah, sure, of course. But for what it is, the price versus how this thing is actually built and constructed, I love this thing. I absolutely think this is incredible. If you have a Benchmade bug out and you love it, or you've done a lot of customizations to it, and you want to get something that's quite similar, maybe just a little bit more hand filling and something you could really just beat the crap out of, just get one of these. It's an absolute no-brainer. And if you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, I'm a lefty, or I'm not a lefty, but I like to carry maybe a secondary knife in my left side, there are threads in the steel liner on what would be the show side, and you can tap the scales. So my brother-in-law, one of them, he is a lefty dominant individual, and he's actually going to be doing that himself at a later date. But since Christmas, he told me that he's just been using it for everything, and it still has a factory edge. I've since sharpened my unit 2 times and laid the edge back. It's like at 17 degrees, and it's an absolute slicer. I love it. I got really nothing to complain for like 35 bucks. This thing is an absolute winner and probably one of my most highly recommended knives, budget knives of 2023. So a lot of good here, a butt ton of value, and it's just good to go. It really is. I love essentially everything about it. Can't complain at that price. Now I have 2 USA made knives, and they did come towards the end to the middle end of the year. These 2 here. So this is a Microtech MSI, or Microtech standard issue. I know it sounds a little redundant to say it out loud like that, but that's what it is. And then here is the GP Knives exclusive Spyderco Manix 2 lightweight. Now, so this one has the Rex 45 blade material. It's like 145 bucks. There's a satin variation that came out a couple weeks afterwards, and it's maybe like $10-15 less. Now it is a tool steel and it can corrode quite easily, but there are different things that you could do to protect it, or just put a force patina on it, or just let nature do its job. and just keep up with basic maintenance, at least within the contact points here and there, and just keep the pivot clean. That's it. But this right here, it's just good old Spyderco construction. This model is made in the US, as you can see right there, and on Earth. Don't forget that. That's very important, that your knives are made on Earth. Yeah, for sure. Now, mine is a little bit gunked up because since I got it, I've been using it for absolutely everything. I'm talking stuff in the kitchen, stuff outside in the yard, a lot of boxes before and after Christmas. I have since sharpened it twice. I did put a fine polished edge on it and it lost all of its bite, but it was an absolute laser beam, mainly because of the super thin geometry and how tall and flat the actual blade shape is. But I decided that what I'm going to keep on the actual edge is going to be a 400 grit to a 400 grit edge. I think it's at 17 degrees, and it has a high strop, like a 0.5 micron stropping on it, and it's excellent. It's as good as it came from the factory, essentially, and I'm quite proud of that because this thing was probably one of the scariest, one of the most stupidest sharp knives I've ever experienced out of the box. And it's a Spyderco. Who would have guessed? Now, with this being the lightweight variation, this is the updated lightweight variation to my knowledge. The ones in the past did have riveted or pinned construction where you were not able to actually take it apart to do any sort of internal maintenance, which is kind of stupid. But this, you actually can take it apart and clean out everything, which I desperately need to do. This knife is absolutely disgusting, but you know what? It keeps on ticking and it's good to go. So this is something that if you need an absolute slicer, something that weighs 3 ounces or maybe a hair under, this is your knife. You want something that has super intense edge retention and is, again, made in the US for 145 bucks, I think it was, and they're still available, at least during the recording of this video they are. Yeah, this is awesome. This is really cool. And while it does kind of have the shitty bent steel pocket clip, I don't mind it so much. It is ambidextrous, which is cool, so you can flip it around. I do believe that a couple different aftermarket companies do offer replacement clips in titanium or steel or whatever material that they work with. So there is that. An incredible design. I absolutely love it. And the cherry on top is that it's in a super cool blade material. So this thing is awesome. And I hope that Spyderco does more sprint runs in the near future using that platform, because that thing is sick. Now, last one here, share with you guys today. This is the Microtech MSI, and this is the one with the Grivery or the FRN, the plastic stuff, you know, the melted tires. You know, that's what this stuff pretty much is. It's good to go. I have no genuine complaints. It was like 176 bucks and you're getting an incredible blade. This thing looks mean. It performs super well. And it really just shrugs off a lot of inappropriate use. So I've gone through like small soda cans, things like that, which I would consider to be inappropriate use. I've got a couple good scratches on it, but haven't really messed up the edge too much. It takes an incredible edge. I don't remember what I have on here. It's probably like 19 or 18 degrees. It is thicker behind the edge and would be really cool to get a BGM regrind on this, but that may be a project for later on this year. I have a lot of knives in my collection that I would love to send to get reground, but even still, having this for as long as I have, this is the date on it. So there are different variations of this. There were some slight, I guess, issues with earlier production, and this is definitely a knife that is a little controversial at the moment in the hobby, because there have been a lot of reports of people claiming that their locks have slipped and actual video footage of their locks failing. But my unit in particular, it is an absolute beast. I love using it and it's just freaking great. Spine whacking closer out to the tip where the most amount of force can be applied to essentially slip that lock. This thing survives every single time. I've done nothing to the actual spring. I haven't trimmed it. I haven't really done any kind of modifications. The only thing I have done is actually slightly polished that portion here of the actual blade itself, just so it runs a little smoother. It felt kind of shitty when I first got it, and I was looking around at some of the other things in my collection that operate in a similar way. For example, the Vision FG, it comes from the factory polished and it is butter smooth, but this has bearings. Well, scratch that, this has bearings as well, but it felt like shit when I got it. Now I love it. Now it doesn't have a traditional detail like a lot of other knives, but once you get used to actually, you know, getting it out there, it's really not that bad. Honestly, most people would just opt to rolling it out, and even then it still feels quite satisfying. So there is a whole lot of value in this, being made in the US, having all oversized hardware, a wonderful pocket clip with healthy retention, and that incredible blade with so much reach. You have, you know, 2 different grips further down here, or even choked up. Would have been nice if there was some jimping on the spine, but even still, this thing is absolutely awesome and one of my favorite pickups from 2023. And I've actually purchased a spot for Original Goat titanium scales. They have yet to reach out to people that purchase spots to share what milling patterns are going to be offered, but I have this, for example. If I can get something similar to this or like it, or maybe they come out with something completely new. This is my full-size Doug Ritter RSK, manufactured by Hogue, and this has titanium Original Goat scales. These are beautiful. These are essentially a work of CNC art that it's meant for a little bit more harder use, so they do offer different finishes, and I got something that was along the lines of like a worker's finish or whatever their terminology that they were using for at the time. But I'd probably get something quite similar to this because this is an absolute workhorse of a knife, and I love it. I think it's great. I think there's so much value here, and that's pretty much it. So not enough space to really line them all up here, but at least I could have them out here closed. Let's get everything out here. There's only 6 knives, right? No. Yes. I can't count. 6 knives. There we go. That's it. They're kind of all in there. Okay, there we go. That looks like shit. Whatever. I hope you guys have a wonderful year this year. I hope that you guys are actually able to accomplish whatever you are looking for. I know New Year's resolutions and the idea behind them is kind of dead, but I still believe that at least within this community that there is so much room for growth and improvement, and I'd love to see more stuff like this. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I don't get a lot of stuff for free. These are things that I purchased with my own money because I saw the value in them, and I think a lot of you would see it as well. So with that being said, thank you so much for all your support and your patience. If you are not subscribed, consider subscribing because I have plenty more videos and content coming your guys' way. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.